Hello and welcome. I am so excited to be back with so many of you that joined us at the My Tehillim Time Jewish Women's Virtual Festival from all the way from August all the way until October. And it's great to see so many of you here with us again today. Welcome to our Netilat Yadayim and Tu B'Shvat event on behalf of myself, on behalf of Abraham's Legacy, Netillah, and Naomi's Uplifting events. We're excited to have you here. I do want to mention that today's class is sponsored L'ilui Nishmat Rosie Bat Esther Alea Shalom, who is an incredible woman that I knew for very many years. Her family is absolutely incredible as well. And today's class, as well as the Tehillim read, is in memory and L'ilui Nishmat Rosie Bat Esther. It's so good to see all of you. Orly Wahba here. I'm the founder of Abraham's Legacy and Netillah. Abraham's Legacy is a mobile app that allows people to collectively complete the book of Tehillim in unison, in real time, with people from all across the globe. And of course, Netillah, our 100% pure copper cup, which we're going to be doing a raffle. Each of you are entered in to win. We're going to be doing that at the end of the class today, and also discussing the importance of this incredible mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim. Thank you all for joining us and being here. We have an exciting agenda, but before we get started, of course, I like to start with thank yous. So first, I'd like to thank my partner in all of this, Naomi from Naomi's Uplifting Events. Thank you so much for all of the effort that you put in and day out. I want to thank Shoval for being here to assist us technically. So thank you so much, Shoval. Of course, I'd like to thank our incredible speakers that we're going to be hearing from today, Gedale Fenster and Rebbetzin Tziporah Heller Gottlieb. You guys are in for an incredible agenda. And above all, of course, I want to thank Hashem for giving me the opportunity day in and day out to work on this. I feel very lucky. And I want to thank all of you for being here, because you could be anywhere right now, but you chose to be here so that we can learn together and elevate the Mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim, come together in tefillah, and also enjoy this beautiful Chag that we're coming up to of Tu B'Shvat. So I want to thank all of you. Again, like I said, this class is sponsored in memory of Rosie Bat Esther. So I'm just going to share with you quickly what the agenda is for this evening or this day, wherever you are based in the world, and we're going to get started. First, we're going to hear from Gedale Fenster, followed by Rebbetzin Gottlieb, right after the talks. And if you have questions that are going to come about as we're going through, as you're hearing these incredible speakers, feel free to jot down your questions in the chat. If there's time, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to ask them those questions. After the talks, we're going to be joining together in a Tehillim read through the Abraham's Legacy Tehillim app. Now, for those of you that don't know what Abraham's Legacy is, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to explain to you, and you're going to be able to take part. Abraham's Legacy, as I mentioned, is an app. It's a free app that I created, L'Shem Shemaim, in memory of my grandfather, Avraham ben Polin. Hopefully in a different class, you'll be able to hear more about that story. It is available for iOS and Android. It's in Hebrew, English, Spanish, and French, and it allows people to collectively complete the book of Tehillim in minutes. And we're going to do a Tehillim read for a 6-minute period. Generally, we should be able to finish at least a book of Tehillim in that amount of time. If you don't have the app on your phone, go ahead to the Appstore right now or during the program until we get to the end, and you can download it. It is completely free. Just go through the steps that are listed there. Before we're going to do the Tehillim read, we'll show a quick video so you'll understand what we're going to do in unison together. Now, for those of you that might say, but Orly, I don't have a smartphone. You're not including me? Don't you worry. If you don't have a smartphone, it's fine. You can open up a book of Tehillim that's in your home. And if you don't happen to have a book of Tehillim, that's also fine. You could open up your heart and you can pray to Hashem during these very special 6 minutes where we're all going to be reading together in unison. After the Tehillim read, don't go anywhere, because we're going to be doing our raffle. What are we doing the raffle for? Well, of course, if the theme today is Netillah, we're going to be doing a raffle for 100% pure copper Netillah cup. This is a beautiful gift for yourself, for family, for friends. We also have opportunities for you to engrave names onto the Netillah cup. Plus, as an extra benefit, because only one person is going to win tonight, but that's okay. As an extra benefit for those of you that are interested in purchasing your own pure copper Netillah cup, you'll have the opportunity to do so by going to netillah.com. And what I'm going to be doing is, over this week from today, from January 10th until the 17th, we have a coupon code that you're able to put in onto the website and get a 10% discount on the Netillah cup. It is only for a limited time. That that code is going to be posted here in the chat. Also, tomorrow, for those that may have to leave in the middle of this class today or that weren't able to attend, not to worry, we're going to have a recording as always. It will be on the Abraham's Legacy YouTube channel, as well as on the Netillah YouTube channel. I will be sending out an email tomorrow with those recordings, as well as the link, as well as the coupon code for you to purchase a Netillah cup in case you are interested in doing so. So don't go anywhere. At the end, we're going to be doing that raffle and also making just a few announcements. I want to thank all of you for being here again, and I'm excited to be able to introduce, in just a moment, we're going to introduce our first speaker, Gedale Fenster. He is a Miami-based entrepreneur and a motivational speaker, and he's the founder and the CEO of the People's Insurance Claims Center and Evolutions Treatment Center. He's also established the Breslov Center, where he teaches and he hosts a series of daily and weekly online lectures. You can learn more about Gedale by going to gedalefenster.com. I'll be placing the link over here in the chat so you have the opportunity to learn more. So without further ado, I give you Gedale Fenster. Gedale, thank you so much for joining us today.
First of all, I want to thank you for letting me have a beautiful event, Orly. I really love what you're doing. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit, connect basically the concept of Netilat Yadayim with Rabbi Natan Zal and the concept of our emotions. So Rabbi Natan says something very, very beautiful in the Kutei Tfilas, and he speaks about the concepts of the hands. The hands our hands represent where our pulse is. For example, if we would go to an acupuncturist, we would get, for example, they would check our pulse. Like the first thing they would check to see if, how, the state you're in or how you're feeling is they check your pulse rate. If it's a fast pulse, if it's a slow pulse. So the hands represent our emotions. Our hands represent faith or emotions. So Rabbi Natan has a beautiful tefillas on this. And he says, whenever the ultimate thing to wash our hands is whenever we're washing our hands is representing our faith. Washing our hands represents our faith, represents our hands are up. As we just read in the Parsha, when Moshe's hands were up, the Jews won the war. When his hands were down, they lost the war. So this is the concept of the hands represents faith. So Rabbi Natan says very beautiful that the first thing is when we're going to sleep is, we're going to sleep with all our problems. We're going to sleep with all our issues. And the first thing we need to do is we need to wake up. The first thing we need to wake up is come up with a new consciousness. Because, in life, when we're all going through our issues, when we all have our emotional issues, we all want to go to sleep mentally and spiritually. And waking up in the morning and right away putting on your hands, washing your hands represents the concept of das. Because we know water represents das, and das itself represents a new mindset. So it's funny how just a simple thing like washing our hands represents like trying to connect to a new consciousness on that level, this is one of the things. The reason why I'm specifically speaking about this is because of the connection between Rabbi Natan and Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat happens to be his birthday, so I wanted to take definitely a Torah from his life, and his life was all about basically taking like simple things and really getting the inner essence of that thing. Something else in it, which really was beautiful that he also says, is that we have to be careful in life. Sometimes, obviously, I run rehab centers, I have a podcast. Sometimes our intellect clouds our vision. And Rabbi Natan says something very beautiful, that this is why we have to have our hands over our heads, because hands represent faith and the mind represents the intellect. And sometimes in life, where we're going to get into areas in our life that we don't understand. We don't understand the questions. We're busy too much trying to figure out. We're using logic to try to figure out things where we should be using faith. So usually always trying to put the hands over your head, just to represent that the emunah comes before the intellect. And Reb Nachman says constantly that usually when we have in life, when we're trying to sometimes understand something rationally, and where our minds are blocked, where our mentalities are blocked, this is when we need to apply emunah. We need to apply faith. And that's exactly the same thing, because the first thing is we're waking up in the morning, we're waking up from sleep, we're waking up from a constricted consciousness. So we're waking up now to a new mindset and a new way of looking at the same situation. This is another couple makshavot that we could definitely have, to look at washing hands is not just in a it's something that I do. I'm looking at it as a complete emotional connection on how to deal with issues in our lives, etc. Those are some of the beautiful things that I've checked. And just constantly we have to watch our pulse, because our consciousness and our energy level definitely affects our hands. This is why our hands, we move our hands. We constantly, our hands, we send signals with our hands, and definitely our hands are the area where we can get, if we're sluggish, we can't even move our hands. We can't even move. So it's something definitely to check, the constant awareness. And when we constantly renew ourselves, we're able to have better motion. So that's just some of the things that Rebbetzin speaks about, waking up in the hands and connecting Netilat Yadayim more of on an emotional state. Orly, any more questions? Any other comments, or you want me to continue?
If anybody, no, please feel free to continue.
Okay, I don't want to go too fast or anything. Again, I'm sorry for being late. It's the middle of the day in Miami. It's like the middle of my work day, and I literally stopped the whole world for this.
We're so happy that you were able to join with us. And if anybody has questions, feel free to.
Right.
They'll post it, and then I'll be sure to ask. But feel free to go on.
So again, I just want to recap. The hands is where according to Rebbetzin, the hands is where the heaviness is. Our hands become heavy. When Moshe's hands were down, they lost the war. So our pulse rate, practically our pulse, when we're not in a good state, physically, spiritually, our hands are down. They're sluggish, they're heaviness. And this is why Rebbetzin constantly speaks about the need sometimes for sleep. When we're practically, we're dealing with an issue, we're dealing with a problem in life. And, sometimes you can't figure it out. Sometimes you just need to take a break. You need to take a little bit of take the edge off, and you need to go to sleep sometimes. So, but we have to be careful that sleep is not used to for example, avoid our problems. We want to use sleep to refresh our mind, not to avoid our problems. So this is where washing the hands makes such a big deal. Because when we're washing my hands, I'm telling Hashem, I'm not going to sleep to avoid my problems. Because a lot of people, they sleep away their problems. I'm washing my hands to approach my problems, but now because I couldn't handle it before, I need a new mindset. Give me the das, which is the water, in order to refresh my mind, to give me the new insights on how to deal with that situation differently. So this is how, when I'm washing my hands, I'm looking at it almost like trying to absorb a consciousness of dat, very similar to going to the mikvah. Rabbi Nachman says when we go to the mikvah, it gives us das. So the same thing, washing our hands and going to the mikvah, it's a place where we get das. It's a place where we get consciousness. We get awareness without even physically doing anything. So this is where we're trying to always cleanse ourselves of this situation. And this is where that's the real consciousness that I wanted to have, really, to use our hands to constantly, to use them to pray to God, not to have heavy hands. Exactly. And this is exactly the parsha this week, just to avoid the heavy hands, avoid the heavy pulse, avoid the, God forbid, when we start losing our faith, we become very heavy, and this is why I gave a class the other day, that Reb Nachman says that the greatest way to take the Shekhinah out of exile is doing mitzvahs with simcha. When we're able to go and do a practical mitzvah with simcha, it's the greatest way to take the Shekhinah out of exile. And today, obviously, the Shekhinah is in exile. You could see, unfortunately, the energy level today, it's not there sometimes when we're doing things. And this is unfortunately the opposite. So this is where we have to just try not to work with constantly, get stuck in the mundane life, and really, really try to do things with simcha. That's one thing that Reb Nachman says. When I'm doing something with simcha, I can elevate that single mitzvah to a category 5, where I can get to a light higher than nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So I think, Orly, that's what you do. I see what you're doing, and you're doing it with a lot of joy. Like this doesn't seem like you're getting out of it. It's just a lot of joy. So this is why you're probably so enthusiastic every time you're doing these things. It's because there's a specific light that you get. And also with my podcast and my classes, when I go give a class and in my rehab centers, my attitude towards the class gives me the light of what to say. But if I come in there like, oh my God, I gotta teach a class. Oh my God, I gotta do this. Or if I go in there as an obligation, then all of a sudden the connection to the light completely diminishes. So this is why I try to really look at everything as an opportunity. Every time I'm doing something, I try to look at it as an opportunity, not as an obligation. And this is something what we have to try to take these mitzvahs and look at them as opportunities, not as heaviness, and not this. And I think unfortunately this is why we see so many people reflecting to Eastern religion, and they're going to the other things, the Buddhist. God forbid, because they see this. Apparently they see an energy there, and they see something that's missing within us. And this is where we have to be careful not to lose customers. We have to reinvigorate and bring that light back to us.
That was fantastic. I mean, you bring up so many great points here. The concept, each and every one of us, we wake up in the morning, we do Netilat Yadayim. When we wake up in the morning, we do Netilat Yadayim before we eat bread. Oftentimes people say, I'm not going to have the bread. I'm going to do the mizonot. I don't want to have to deal with Netilat Yadayim, with your kat hamazon, please, too many things. But if we come to realize, I'm psyched to do Netilat Yadayim. I'm psyched. I'm so excited to do the Mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim. And you pour as much water as you possibly can in your hands. Don't pour, over here. It's a little bit. Water is beracha. Water is also a representation of that joy that you want Hashem to pour that beracha onto your hands. And so instead of looking at, just like you said, Gedale, I think it's so important. Instead of looking at it as an obligation, I don't want to have to do it. I get so excited. I purposely eat bread every single day.
Me too.
Every day. I can't otherwise. I'm starving otherwise. But I love it. Why? Because not only do I get to do the Mitzvah of Netilat, but I also get to do the Mitzvah Birkat HaMazon, which brings into our lives tremendous beracha. This is Mitzvah de Oraita. It's on a higher level than saying Amidah. People don't realize this. It's a crazy thing. And when we put the intention, as well as the joy, because it doesn't seem rational also, right? I washed my hands. I washed them with soap. But Hashem is saying, no. You're not doing something that's logical, right? Just like you said, Gedale, you raise your hands above your head. Right. It's got the emunah has to be above the logic. Hashem doesn't, it's not the logic. It's the emunah.
Exactly.
So we can do that, each and every one of us. Today, after you get off today, whether you're eating or whether it's tomorrow morning, and say, wow, Hashem, I get to do the Mitzvah of Netilat. I'm so excited to bring this mitzvah and this joy and this beracha into my life. So I want to thank you so much, Gedale, for what you shared and for the words that you shared. If anybody has any questions.
And it's funny how you could see, I think I remember, I don't know which rabbi said, but when all of a sudden we took something as bread, which is, the source of, parnasa, there's so many segulot for Birkat HaMazon, how it's a segula for parnasa. When we took something which was the beginning of the source of parnasa, we all of a sudden we put mezanot in there. All of a sudden you tricked just to save 5 minutes. All of a sudden you cut yourself financially. So you can see sometimes we're just, it's like the New Yorkers, they hurry up and wait. They run to the red light, and this is like we're running here, but you don't recognize the brachas are in front of your face.
And also, it's who's bringing us the bracha and who's bringing it to us. At the end of the day, it's Hashem. We're rushing because we need more time. We have to work. We have to do. But who's the one? Right. If anything, guys, over the past few years, what have we seen? We've seen we are not in control. We are not in control. We have to have emunah in Hashem and recognize that He's leading this. And if we give things the appropriate time, the kind of beracha that we will see pour into our lives is beyond incredible. We had a question that came through that asked, can you speak about the expression washing one's hands of a problem?
Sure. I mean, basically, you have to understand what emotionally there's a physical. When I'm emotionally, I'm in a state of, for example, sadness and God forbid, sadness or depression. My hands are affected. Like the way I speak, the way I move, my hands are affected. My body language is affected. You understand? So what happens is normally when we're dealing with issues in our lives, the first thing we want to do is go to sleep. We don't want to deal with it. It's a mentality of normally I want to go to sleep. I can't deal with this. But there is a time where you have to go to sleep in emunah. So sleep is very careful, because if you sleep just to refresh your mind to look at the situation differently, then that's very beneficial. But if I'm taking the same sleep and I'm using it to avoid problems, to avoid the situation at all, then all of a sudden I'll wake up with not even wanting to wash my hands. So the whole point is when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you need is a new consciousness, new das. So when we wake up in the morning, we wash our hands, we're basically taking that new consciousness, that new das, which is the water, and bringing it into us. And that should pretty much help us deal with that situation, to be able to look at that same situation that we're dealing with whether it's dealing with your kids or dealing with your family member, and to be able to have a new perspective.
And also one of the things is when you do Netilat Yadayim, you're supposed to actually lift your hands. After you do Netilat Yadayim, you're supposed to raise them and look at your hands. We know why looking at things. It's the same reason why if you're about to eat an apple, you should look at the apple when you're saying the beracha. It's why? Because when you see something, you're infusing into it so much more kavanah. That's why they say, even when you're praying for somebody, if there's somebody that is ill or somebody that needs tefillot for whatever it is, and you have a picture of them in your Tehillim book or in the app in your circle, you have a picture of them, you're bringing even more kavanah. So it's very important to look at our hands and recognize, like Gedale said, all that comes from this. Absolutely amazing. All that comes from our hands. Does anybody else? Yes, go ahead. Please continue.
Just one more last thing. And the reason why we're so busy, why we're so sad all the time, and why we're so sluggish, because we're too busy chasing instead of attracting. That's another problem. We're too everybody's chasing happiness, chasing this, chasing that, chasing this, chasing kavod from that one, chasing. Instead of recognizing that all the brachas are inside of you. Everything's inside of you. It's right in your hands. Everything's right there in your face. And this is another thing to teach us, that, it's even our control is not even in our hands. Like the economy, nothing's in your hands. And just teaching you, instead of chasing so much, which is making you sad, depressed, etc., start attracting blessings in your life. And you could start attracting things by just doing something simple with kavana and happiness, and things will come to you more versus you running after it. It's just another thing I wanted to speak about.
I love that. I have to say, it's so interesting that you said that,
the same phone,
because it happens to be that the woman who today's class is sponsored, Lilui Nishmata, Rosie Bat Esther, she was a woman that lived emunah, and she always lived b'simcha. I mean, with such a tremendous level of simcha. And like you said, not always chasing, but allowing things to come into our life. And so I think that's a huge lesson that each and every one of us can take. And I hope that we do. After the class is over tonight, take upon yourself to have a little bit more kavanah as you're doing it, your Netillah, as you're getting excited, and recognize, what? This doesn't come from my hands. This comes from Hashem. Everything comes from
Hashem. Ask yourself, why are your hands heavy in the first place?
Exactly.
If the hands are heavy. Why is my mood off? Why am I sluggish? That's also to get to the root of the heavy hands. Moshe Rabbeinu, his hands were heavy. They lost the war. His hands were up. They won. You get to the root of the issue of the heaviness of wanting to do. Why is everything heavy? It's another thing we need to talk about. Getting rid of that heaviness in our lives, getting more light.
And where I think a tremendous way to help us get rid of heaviness is focusing on gratitude.
100%.
Because when you focus on gratitude, suddenly that heavy burden that's on you, suddenly it's not as heavy as you thought. That's why oftentimes they say you're not supposed to have sadness in your heart. You're supposed to speak about it, because when you do, you actually are letting it off of you, realizing, very often we wake up, we want to complain about this, want to complain about that. But when we start to actually speak about the amazing things that Hashem gives us, like the incredible barachat that we have in our lives, the reasons why we should be happy, suddenly that weight, that heaviness that you're saying starts to feel lighter, And it's all to do with our focus. Where do we want to put our focus in this world?
Exactly. Focus is very important. Your rituals is very important. What you do every single day, how you view your perspective. I've been doing lately a lot of like letting go, talking a lot about letting go, because it's not so much, it's the desiring that's blocking the receiving. There's a lot of stuff blocking. And this is where we have to really, really let go in order to receive more. It's not that we think we need to do more to receive more. No, we need to let go to receive more.
And oftentimes what we need to let go of is our limiting beliefs.
limited beliefs.
Oftentimes we're the ones that are holding ourselves down.
Kavod, very small mindset, lack of ruach, kotze ruach, as we just spoke about Egypt. This is not a new concept. This is it's the kotze ruach, it's the heaviness. When we're looking at the parsha this week, the fears of not going to the sea, having that bitachon, all of this is very connected to your life. This is not just a parsha to read. The Torah is very connected to your life, and you have to bring it into your life.
100%. Someone said, it's such a beautiful comment. They said, Moshe, we were talking about the concept of raising hands. He had help in raising his hands. And she said, we all need each other. I think that that's a very, very beautiful concept, that when we are feeling that heaviness, oftentimes, when we recognize that's really what we're here to do. We're helped to lift each other, to keep each other afloat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to again, you could do so much by just, I think today I have 25,000 people in my WhatsApp groups. There's a wave of people helping each other and adding. Just, you got to keep the flow going. We all have to do this. Otherwise, again, what do you have left? Worrying about vaccines all day long and then COVID tests all day long. I'm sure this is not what we're here to do. This can't be our life,
100%. If anybody has any additional questions that they'd like to ask, please feel free to post it now, or you can, unmute yourself if you feel so, and ask the question. One of the questions is, what is your podcast, and how can they find out more?
You can go on my website, gedale.com, GEDALE.com.
GEDALE.com.
Yeah, .com. There, all the links are posted for YouTube, etc. All that's in there.
Incredible. So feel free to go over there to check out more and to learn more about how you can connect with Gedale and hear all of his amazing, inspiring classes that he posts on a regular basis. Gedale, I want to thank you.
More strategy. I like the word strategy.
See, I like that because that's an actionable item. And the truth of the matter is, inspiration, I always say, inspiration without action, it fades, right? People go to these things, you hear a class, but unless you take something and you put it into a strategy, like you said, you put it into an actionable thing, all that inspiration is going to leave you. You got to take some. So hopefully after the class today, each of us should take what Gedale shared. Choose one thing, an actionable item that you're going to do, implement into your life, starting tonight, starting tomorrow.
And even just practically, when you go to sleep, ask yourself, are you sleeping to get refreshed in emunah? Are you sleeping because you're avoiding life? That's another thing. Ask yourself these questions, because how you wake up based on how you go to sleep makes a big difference. Then you can have a different attitude when you wake up. It's very, very different. Reb Natan really takes he takes the simplest halacha, simplest things as washing your hands, and it becomes a lesson in psychology and surrendering and bittul. It's unbelievable how much light there is behind all these mitzvot that we're able to connect to.
If somebody asked the question, is it okay to get dressed and then do Netillah?
Yeah, again, you can ask your rabbi about it, but I'm pretty much giving you the more the psychological mindset on approaching versus avoiding, and using washing your hands as a concept of consciousness. That's my, of course, dressing that you have to ask your rabbi. I'm sure yes or no. I don't know the answer 100%. I mean, sometimes I'm dressed, in a pajama. Sometimes I'm dressed in my work clothes. But just the attitude should be that. More importantly, the attitude. What's your intention behind it? What's your intention behind waking up? Which is your emunah renewed every morning? Is this something that or you're walking around with yesterday's baggage? This is more what we need to look at, because the way we look at it is how much energy we put into something.
100%.
I wake up, Baruch Hashem, every morning. I meditate, to do his bodhidut. I plan my classes 4:00 in the morning every morning. So I'm excited to approach today, because I know sleep is a concept of sleep can put a person to sleep mentally. So that's what we have to more wake up. That's the idea behind all this. We need to approach life, wake up the sun, instead of letting, God forbid, letting life hit us.
I love that. That's beautiful. Someone asked if you have any special books that you would recommend for them to read more on this topic, or on the strategies that you're sharing right now.
I mean, I would tell them to start looking at my podcast. Let them go on my podcast, because my podcast really has a lot of YouTube videos. It depends. I mean, I have so many classes on one on letting go, another one on how to wake up in the morning, how to deal with the sadness, how to deal with depression, how to deal with angry people in your life, how to deal with angry spouses. It's all connected. You understand? But we need one thing to fix everything. We need faith. And that's the bottom line. You need a different mindset, and you can't think, rationally in today's day, because if you think rationally, you're going to lose your mind. We have to be able to think outside the box, and we have to be able to look at things in a much higher consciousness.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Gedale, for taking the time to be on with us today. And I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good bye.
Take care. So I'm so excited for what Gedale shared, and I hope that each and every one of us can take what he said, what he's saying, and bring it into our lives. Before we move on to our next speaker, and she's just running just a couple of minutes late, but all is good. I'm going to speak just a little bit about, when we do wake up in the morning. So waking up in the morning, what is the first thing that we're doing, even right before we say Netillah? Somebody asked, what is the first thing that we should do? The first thing that we actually do is we're saying Modani. And some of you have heard me say this before, but it's worth saying it again. What does it mean when we say Modani lefanecha melechai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati b'chamla rabba munatecha? What does this mean? So a lot of people say, well, just like Gedale was telling us, when we're sleeping, right, we're like a 60th dead. And so when we wake up, Hashem gave us back our neshama. We have to be excited. Wow, he gave us back our neshama. But there's a very important element to it that's connected to what he just said. The last two words of this incredible, incredible line that we say in the morning. And that's Rabba emunatecha, which means your great faith in me. Who are we talking to? We're talking to Hashem, your great faith in me. Shouldn't we say our great faith in you? But why do we say your great faith in me? Because every morning when you wake up and you take that first deep breath in, and you open your eyes, Hashem is basically calling out to all the malachim in Shamayim. And he's having them join around, and he's saying, come, come, come. Look at what she's going to do today. Look at what he's going to do today. Hashem bets on us every single day, no matter whether we made mistakes, no matter how many mistakes we made time and time again, no matter how bad things might be or how good things might be, Hashem bets on us every single day. The question is, and the reason we start with that is because Hashem is trying to empower us to say, the world doesn't bet on you. This person's discouraging you. You think you're not good at this, you're not good at that. But guess what? I'm the king of the universe, and I believe in you. So you have to now believe in yourself. Having that faith in ourselves helps us to release that heaviness, that weight that we sometimes feel, just like Gedale shared. It helps us to release it. But it's not easy to have faith in ourselves. It's very difficult. We're very self-critical. We always look at the things we did wrong. And sometimes the greatest Yetzer Hara is when it tells us you don't deserve to even connect to Hashem. You don't deserve to pray. Because, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. Hashem always sees the good, the potential that we have, and he bets on that potential every day. So remember this when you wake up tomorrow morning and you open your eyes and you take that deep breath in, that Hashem is saying, I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. And that's why the very next thing that we do, right? One of the very next things that we do is we do Netilat Yadayim. We're going to pour that bracha. I believe that there is bracha in my life. Because when we see bracha, when we open our eyes to see the bracha in our lives, Hashem shows us even more reasons to be thankful. That concept of gratitude. And that's what the entire Birkot HaShachar is about. Recognizing all the things we're to be grateful for. So Hashem can continue to send us tremendous amount of barachot. I'm very excited to be introducing our next speaker, who's going to be speaking about Tu B'Shvat and Netilat Yadayim, the Netilat Yadayim connection. Rebbetzin Tziporah Heller Gottlieb. I absolutely love this woman. I know that everybody here loves this woman. She's incredible. She's internationally known as an outstanding scholar of Jewish studies, as well as a gifted lecturer and several book authors. She's been a full-time faculty member of Neve Yerushalayim College in Jerusalem since 1980. And her areas of expertise include textual analysis of biblical literature and Jewish philosophy, with an emphasis on the teachings of Maimonides and also the Maharal. She is also particularly well known for her courses devoted to the role of women in Judaism and an analysis of the lives of women in Torah. And you can find out more about the Rebbetzin by going to tziporahheller.com. We will place the link into the chat. And without further ado, Rebbetzin, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here with us.
So much. What an introduction, Orly or something. Okay, so here's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Chodesh Shvat. We're going to be talking about Mazalot, and we're going to be talking about Netilat Yadayim. Okay, so the names of the months don't have Jewish sources. In the Torah, the months are called Chodesh Rishon, which would be Nisan, because that's when we came out of Mitzvah and became a people. Okay, all the way through. Where do these names come from? So the Gemara tells us they come from the return from Galut Bavel. They took the Aramaic names with them. The question is why? We don't purposely call our months by January, February, and the other Roman names. Why do we keep the Babylonian names? So the idea is that we came back. We went out to where discovering Hashem was not easy. The Shekhinah is in Eretz Yisrael. Hashgacha Pratit is much more revealed in Eretz Yisrael than anywhere else. The word Bavel, if you turn it into a verb, levalbel, is to confuse. We came back and we still knew who we were. We still defined time in accordance to the Torah's order. Okay, so the month of Shvat, like all of the other months, has a mazal. What does mazal have to do with anything? The word mazal, if you turn it into a verb, lehazil, means to drip down, to cause something to flow downwards. When Hashem created the world, his intent, the crown of all creations, was human beings. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is specific. So when you ask, how am I different than the person standing next to me or sitting next to me or on the screen next to me? It's your heredity, your environment, your hidden potentials, which may come to the surface or may not. The choices you've made until this day, the habits that you've acquired. So from that perspective, we're all different. The reason why Hashem made us all different is we have different things to achieve in life. So the combinations of this kind of heredity, that kind of environment, etc., are innumerable. There's never been anybody exactly like you. Some of you will be saying, thank God. Okay. But in order for us, each one of us, to do whatever it is that we were created for, you have to have the components that Hashem believes that you need. These components are called your mazal. This is what he draws down to you. So many things about your life were not of your choosing. You didn't choose to be born in this century and not a previous one. You didn't choose to be a woman and not a man. You didn't choose to be born to your family and not another family. All of these choices are your mazal. So your mazal is something that you live with and something that should be part of you. So when people talk about changing their mazal, in a general sense, it's a very bad idea. If this is what Hashem feels you need, why would you want to change it? If you were a farmer, you would want a tractor, you wouldn't want a piano. So why change your mazal? So in a general sense, we aren't expected to or able to change the mazal. There's an exception. The exception is you can outgrow your mazal. You could be created to do this, and you did it, and the world is ready for more, and you could do more. Okay, so concerning this, it says in the Gemara, there are 5 things to which you could change your mazal. Changing your name. So it doesn't just mean call me Batya, don't call me Barbara. It means changing the way people experience you. Changing your place, going to where you'd be under better influence. Giving tzedakah, tefillah, tshuva. They make you bigger, and you could have a mazal that matches who you are. So Ramchal says that when Hashem created the world, he decided to use many, many mediums to let things flow down to us, to allow us to choose to find him in the midst of all of this. So an example of that would be with healing. Okay, a person is ill, they may take a medicine, they may get better without a medicine also, whatever it is. But they're not going to hear a voice saying, heal. Okay, that's not going to happen. Hashem will do it through many emtsaim, many mediums. Some of the mediums are consistent, and that's what we'll call derech hateva. Some of the mediums are inconsistent, and we'll call that derech nes. But it's all from Hashem. Nes and teva to him are the same thing. But he'll use teva in order to challenge us, to let us see him in the midst of his concealment. One of the natural things he created are the constellations. So I don't know where you're hearing this, but I could tell you that when I was a child growing up in Brooklyn, I didn't believe in the constellations, because where I live, the street I lived, Winton Boulevard, the buildings were high. I look up, I don't see anything that resembles the Big Dipper.
Oh, yeah,
There was pollution. Okay. So I even thought that the constellations were made up. I thought, don't tell all of the stupid things to children to make us believe whatever they think is cute. Just like Chinese people don't really wear conical hats and Dutch people don't wear wooden shoes. Everyone knows there are no constellations. So it was only later that I saw the stars in the country and elsewhere. So the stars always stay in the same formation, which I didn't know even until recently. That means that even though the earth moves, like picture me, I'm moving, but the stars, in whatever position they are, stay the same. So we see different constellations in different months because the earth moves, but the stars don't change their position. So there are 12 astral bodies paralleling the 12 months. So each month, the word chodesh is related to the word chidush, which means something new or novel. Hashem brings it forth into every month, mazal, the components that the people who are alive on the earth at this point need. Every month has its own mazal. So in the same page in the Gemara, where it says that the mazal of the Jewish people is the sheep, this is why we had to use a sheep to put on the blood to put on the doorpost when we left Mitzrayim. It says, turn the page, it says, we don't have mazal. So we either do have mazal or don't have mazal. What does that mean? It means we do have mazal, but we could always grow beyond it. So the month that we just entered is Shvat. Okay, what's the mazal of Shvat? The mazal of Shvat in English is Aquarius, but in terms of the actual formation of the stars, it's of a pitcher pouring out. So in Hebrew, you call it the dzli, the pail or the pitcher. Okay, so here are some things just about the dzli that are worth considering. If you're actually trying to get water into a pitcher, the pitcher first has to be empty. You can't fill it with water if it's already full. So the dzli is a symbol of outpouring. Before you could get anything of Hashem's presence into you, before you could reach any level of feeling close to him, you have to pour yourself out. You have to stop seeing the world as revolving around you and your pre-existent ideas, your pre-existent feelings, your pre-existent interpretation of life. You have to be able to say, today is new, today is different. Today is going to be the first day of my life from now on, and I'm going to empty myself of all of the preconceived ideas, all of the preconceived notions that I have from before. So this isn't easy. This trait is, of course, called anava, which means humility. People mistakenly think that anava is low self-esteem. Not at all. The voice of low self-esteem is, I'm not anything. I don't deserve anything. And I think I'll go to bed and have a chocolate bar. Okay, the voice of anava is, look what Hashem gave me. What could I ever do to repay this? I'm nothing. Look what he gave me. So the Gemara gives us the example of Avraham Avinu. What did he say about himself? When Hashem told him, I love you so much, I can't hold anything back from you. And he decided to tell him about the forthcoming destruction of Sodom and Amorah. What does Avram say? Well, of course you love me. I've done so much. Like, why shouldn't you love me? I'm a very lovable person. Look, I did this, my hachdas orechem, the Brit. No, he said, Anochi ofar ve'efer. I'm dust and ashes. What am I compared to you? And he said, dust and ashes on purpose. Okay, afar, the earth itself is what makes everything grow. You gave me the powers to bring growth into the world. You let me be the founder of what later would become a people. How could I ever repay you? That's the voice of Anava. So Anava is the opposite of low self-esteem. Low self-esteem says, I need to defend myself. Anava says, I need only to empty myself and Hashem will fill me. So that's the mazal of Shvat. And it's not for nothing that Shvat always turns out to be in the Parshiot of Geula, right? This coming week is going to be B'Shalach. The Parshiot of Geula, the first letter of the Parshiot of Geula spell out the word Shovavim, Shma'ot V'Rabo B'Shalach Yitronim Mishvatim. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing you do is Netilat Yadayim. What's that about? Why wash your hands? What if your hands are perfectly clean? What are you washing your hands for? And then the Netillah isn't going to get your hands all that clean anyway. You don't have to use soap. Okay. You don't have to rub them together. What is this going to do for you? So the Balei Halacha say that Netillah is to rid your hands of Ruach Ra'ah. What is that? What kind of evil spirits? Try telling that to your friends who aren't religious. What are you doing? I'm taking the evil spirits off my hands. Oh, how nice. Could you have them every day? Okay. Okay, so the definition of Ra from a Jewish perspective, what makes something bad? Something that conceals Hashem. When you're asleep, what do? You have no consciousness of what you do. You're not home. You're there. Your body is there and it controls you, but your mind and your feelings aren't there. Okay, so being awake gives you the ability to be a chooser. But there's a prerequisite. You can't choose if you think that your choices are pre-made by Mazal. If you think this is how it is, this is how my life is, this is my job, and this is my husband, and these are my kids, that's just how it is. So that's not going to allow you to become the person Hashem wants you to be. You have to be able to say, I'm going to choose. So why your hands? And why so many times? So your hands are viewed as the expression of your will. So when we'll talk soon in the Parshiot about how Hashem released us from Egypt, it will say, Biyad chazaka v'zroa netuya, with an outstretched arm and a strong hand. The arm controls what we'll call gross motor action, the force. But the hand does fine motor action. When you're talking about Yad Chazakah and Dronu Tiyah with Hashem, he showed great force, look what he could do. But it was directed very specifically to each person uniquely. Imagine Makot Bechorot, which we'll be talking about in this parasha. He knew who's the firstborn and who's not, who put blood on their doorpost and who didn't. Everything was extremely specific. So for yourself, if you want to make your life into something, here's something that you have to remember. Be specific. Now, I want to be a good person. From now on, I'm going to be a good person. Eze yofi. How about today, I'll talk to Hashem. He gave me a new day. I'll open the Siddur and I'll talk to him. How about today? No lashon hara. And if not the whole day, at least 2 hours today. Specific. Moving from broad good intentions to specific deeds requires your ratzon. That's symbolized by your hands. You're doing specific things. It's fine motor action, not gross motor action. So I'll tell you a story, and this is what I'll conclude with. This story took place at the end of World War II. The Kleisenberger Rebbe survived. There were very few adults, people in middle age, who survived the camps. Mostly it was young people, but he survived. So after the camps were liberated, they took the inmates to displaced persons camps, which were basically houses where the Americans supplied them with food until they could figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. So they had nothing. They had nothing. Okay, he was walking down the road and he saw a girl and he remembered her from his town. He looked at her, yes, it was she. He sat down on a rock and he took off his socks and he gave her his socks. These were his only socks. Okay, and she said, Rebbe, why are you giving me your socks? He says, because you're a Jewish daughter. You should feel that you're thought of, that you're refined, that you're modest. I could live without socks. That very specific deed changed her life and was part of his becoming the tzaddik who became. Everything is about the specific. When you read the Torah and you look at who the heroes are, okay, it's always about specific deeds. Think about Rivka, that she gave the water to Eliezer. I know what I would do if I was there. I would say, here's my jug. I live up the hill. When you're finished, okay. But she did things in a way that was specific and defined and real. Okay, we should just be zocheh. Now that it's Shvat, we can empty the dli of our pre-existent patterns. We could do Netilat Yadayim, and we could be mishaneh all of the mazal, the tovah v'levracha. Shalom, shalom.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rebbetzin, for being on. I'm so grateful for your words. What a great message for all of us to be able to be specific. We were talking about just earlier the concept and the idea of taking the inspiration that we're hearing during today's classes and putting them into action. You can do that now. Sometimes in being specific, it's great to write things down, actually. One of the things that I would do always before Rosh Hashanah, I would make a list of personal goals, spiritual goals, professional goals that I wanted to accomplish, who I wanted to be by next year. And I wrote the bigger things. Then I would take a spreadsheet and I went through each one of the very broad things, like the Rebbetzin was saying. And I said, okay, if that's who I want to be by next year, what are the small actions I need to do on a daily basis to get me there? Because just wanting to be that isn't going to do anything. What do I have to actually do every day? And I would sit down and I would write, okay, well, if I want to increase my, let's say, my connection with Hashem, so what are practical things that I can do? Whether it be, maybe I'm praying in the morning or saying Tehillim or reading a book on Musar every day, whatever it may be, very, very, very specific. Even developing a close relationship with my family. I made specific things. I'm going to call my grandmother once a week or twice a week or whatever it is as a checklist. When we do that and when we write the specifics down, that we can actually look at it and we can look at it each day, it helps us keep us on track to get to the person that we want to be. And I really, really very much connected to what you were saying, Rebbetzin. I absolutely love it. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, we're just going to take a couple of minutes now. If you do, you can feel free to post it over here. I see one question came through, Rebbetzin, and she said, can the Rebbetzin please tell us the 5 ways of changing one's mazal? She only mentioned 2, and please repeat, what is the significance of changing one's name?
Changing one's name because your name is the way people understand your identity. Changing your place so you'll be under better influence. Tefillah, because that change, it attaches you to Hashem and makes you recognize your dependence upon Him. Tzedakah, because that changes you from being a person who sees material things as being the ikar in life to seeing giving as being the ikar. And finally, teshuvah, everybody knows where they've made mistakes. Everybody knows where they want to move things forward. Those are the 5 things.
Thank you so much, Rebbetzin. I'm so grateful for you being here with us and sharing your wisdom with us. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should each be able to take the broad things that we want to accomplish and make them as specific as possible so that we can be, because like you said, we're emptying out the dli. So we have the opportunity right now to fill it in the way that we need to fill it. We have one question came through. Why do we wash so many times?
So there are 2 minhagim. One is 4 times, one is 6 times. The idea basically is to be sure that all of the original water, which still has the tum'ah, is completely washed off.
Thank you so much. One other question is, what about converts and their mazal? If they're born in one month but have conversion another month, what month is their month?
I don't know with absolute certainty, but I'd assume it's the month that they converted, because they're considered ketinok shenolad.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rebbetzin, for your time. Wishing you to have an amazing Tu B'Shvat, an amazing month of Shvat, B'ezrat Hashem.
Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. Shalom, shalom, Orly.
Thank you. All right, don't go anywhere, guys. We still have another couple of portions of our program. I know that we're running just a little bit late, so I'm going to keep my portion just a bit shorter. And I want to be speaking about, as we heard so many wonderful things about the Mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim, some of the practical things, because sometimes, some of us are doing Netilat Yadayim, some of us may not be doing Netilat Yadayim. Now we know that there's Netilat Yadayim that happens when we wake up in the morning, the first Netillah that we do, which is different than the Netilat Yadayim that we do before we eat bread. Now, after we eat bread, it's not Netilat Yadayim, but it's Mayim Acharonim. It's also connected to water. There's a very, very big significance. I want to just quickly explain the method of doing Netilat Yadayim, so that for those of us that are already doing it, and maybe we're not necessarily doing it the 100% correct way, we can. And for those of us that aren't necessarily doing it, perhaps we'll consider doing it, even if it's only just the Netilat Yadayim in the morning, or, so on and so forth. So to show you, I'm just going to take out here, this is the raffle that we're going to do for today, the 100% pure copper cup. And I'm going to explain to you also, based on what the Rebbetzin was saying, the connection between what she was saying and copper and nechoshet. And we're going to take a look at just a few sources. So first off, with Netilat Yadayim itself, when we do Netilat Yadayim, the proper way to do it, and again, this is on the website, on the netilat.com website, in case you want to be able to take a look at it afterwards, this information is also there. You fill the cup and fill it. No, I want to just put a little, I have to run. Take the extra 30 seconds. It's all good. This is beracha. We all want beracha. That's what we're doing in our life. We fill the cup fully with water and with our right hand, and then we pass the cup to our left hand. The way to remember is always the passing always goes from right to left. But if you want to pass back from your left to your right, just always remember, put it down and then pick it back up with your right. So you fill it up with your right hand. After you fill it up with your right hand, you pass it to your left and you pour it on the right. The right comes first. That's the strong hand. Even if you are a lefty, it doesn't make a difference. It goes on to the right. You then put the cup down and pick it up with your right hand and then pour on your left. Again, you can always pass. The rule is you can always pass from right to left. Don't pass from left to right. When you want to pass from left to right, put it down and then you pick it back up, and so on and so forth. And you do this 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left. Now, somebody asked if we could get this written down. Great question. I'm going to put over here for you a link, okay, onto the website. And I'm just going to, so that you can actually take a look at this even afterwards and understand the exact directions of how to do Netillah. Best way, like I said, to remember is you start doing Netillah on your right hand. You always fill. You do the mitzvah with your right. So you're filling with your right. You first pour onto your right. So you have to pass to your left. And then when you want to move it to the next hand, you have to always pass. You have to always pick it up with your right. Don't pass from your left to your right, but pass from your right to your left. So in the morning, we rotate 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Before we have bread, and like the Rebbetzin said, there are different minhagim. For example, I know that the Sephardic minhag is you're doing it 6 times. You do 3 on one hand before bread, and then 3 on the other. 3 on the right first, and then 3 on the left. There are those that do it only 4 times, meaning 2 on the right and 2 on the left. It really will vary based on your minhag. With the bread, again, we fill it up with our right, pass to our left, 3 on the right, put it down, pick it up, 3 on the left. Now, after you actually wash your hands, this is very important. It's very important. You don't want to dry your hands and then say the beracha, because it is actually beracha labatala. You take your hands, you can take the water, you just can put them together to take the water off your hands, and you hold them in front of you. Again, like we said earlier, you want to see them. And again, you could even lift them up if you want. So we're talking about the concept of emunah, right? Above our logic. And you look at them, and that's how you say the beracha while they're still wet. Only after you say the beracha, and saying the beracha with kavanah, I'm smiling. Wow, I'm bringing beracha to my hands. I'm bringing beracha into my life. Then is when you dry your hands. This is the proper way to do Netilat Yadayim. Like I said, it's on that link. And if you are, again, it's about practicing it. Once you practice doing it, one person told me, it's so confusing, my right, my left. Once you practice it, it becomes second nature to you. Also, when we get into the routine of doing something, oftentimes, right, when you're used to doing something all the time, what happens? You forget to put that kavanah in. So the fact that you're going to be introducing the proper way to do it is actually good. You know why? Because it's going to make you think for a second. And like I said, fill it with water. And where should the water go? Not here. This is not Tisha B'Av, okay? We have to fill it over here. Go to your top of your hand. Why the hands? Guys, all of our asiyah, all of the things that we do in our life comes from here. Whether it's taking care of our children or cooking or working, all of the asiyah, our ability to actually do, to bring into the world, to create, comes from our hands. So when our hands are purified and sanctified, we bring that purity and sanctification into everything we touch. Guys, doing Netillah elevates our hands, just like when we say a beracha on something, we elevate it to a level of kedusha. And so when we do Netillah, we're bringing that kedusha into our hands. And now everything that we're going to touch in our day, we're placing that spiritual, placing that kedusha into it. This is a huge, huge concept. So why nechoshet? I said, Orly, okay, you do a copper cup. What's the concept of copper? I don't understand what's going on over here with this nechoshet. There's a very, very, very specific reason. Guys, look in the Torah. Look at the sources in the Torah. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Cousin of mine, how did this come to be? I started this company back in 2017. Cousin of mine who lives in Israel reached out to me, said to me, Orly, I want your help. I said, okay, what are you doing? He says, I want to be able to create and to bring into Am Yisrael again, 100% pure copper cup. So I said, tell me what's going on. He says, Orly, the level of this could be huge to be able to bring this, the concept of copper, of nechoshet and Netillah, back into the homes within Am Yisrael. So I said, why? What happened? So he told me, listen, I went to my rabbi and I was telling him I'm having a very difficult time with parnasah, having a really difficult time. And the rabbi told me, do Netillah. So I started laughing. I told the rabbi, I do Netillah. Like, what's the chidush over here? He says, no. Do it with 100% pure copper cup, not copper plated, not glossed, raw copper. That the inside of the cup is 100% pure raw copper. So he said, okay. And he went ahead and he tried finding a copper cup and he couldn't find one. The ones he did find were very, very, very insanely expensive and he couldn't find it. He found copper plated. He decided, you know what, I'm going to make one. I don't know whether I don't find it on the market. So he made one. And he started doing Netillah. And of course, he started asking the question, why did the rabbi tell me this? Like, why? Like, what's the chidush here? What's going on? And little by little, he started doing research into the connection between mayim and nechoshet, between water and copper. And what he found is that there's so many sources from Torah, from Kabbalah, that talk about this concept of nechoshet. Think about it for a moment. The Mitzvah of Netilat Yadayim was commanded by Hashem to Moshe, that the Kohanim would wash their hands before doing Avodat HaKodesh. And what was it that Hashem told Moshe to create? A kior. And what material
you see what I mean?
did Hashem tell Moshe
And
to
if
create
that
the
were
kior
toggle-
with? He said, nechoshet. He didn't tell him make it from gold, make it from silver. No. He said from copper. Now, another thing, Yam Shlomo Melech, when he created the Beit HaMikdash, he created Yam Shlomo, which was a copper basin that stood upon 12 copper calves. They were made of copper that the Kohanim would immerse themselves into before going to do Avodat HaKodesh. Again, What was the specifications in making it? Nechoshet. What is going on over here? What is the concept of nechoshet? Water, why? What would happen? You see, copper is a natural antibacterial. It actually prevents the spread of germs. That's why in hospitals, they used to make doorknobs out of copper to prevent the spread of germs. It has very, very powerful effects and impacts. You can actually see loads of information about some of the concepts behind copper. It's a mineral that's found throughout the body. It actually helps your body make red blood cells, and it keeps nerve cells and your immune system healthy. It also forms collagen, which is a key part of bones and connective tissue. It helps the body absorb iron, which is extremely important. And your body needs copper to make energy. And it also reacts as an antioxidant. It reduces free radicals that can damage cells and also can damage DNA. These are just basic things about copper, not even going into too many of the details here. So what's the concept? Imagine a person who's doing Netilat. Now, what do we know? And the Rebbetzin actually touched on this a little bit. We know that we don't do Netilat because our hands are dirty. Okay, it's removing a spiritual impurity. It's not something that you can see. It's not something you can think logically. It's above logic. It's at the emunah portion. And so when we pour water into a cup, we know that water, mayim, is mayim chayim. Impurity, tum'ah, has the ability to cling to anything that's alive. When something is alive, it has the ability for impurity to attach itself to it. We know mayim is mayim chayim. It's alive. So if you pour water into a cup, like a regular cup. Now, this doesn't mean, and I'm going to say this, very important that I say this, this doesn't mean that if you don't do Netillah with a cup that's copper, doesn't mean that your Netillah is invalid. I'm going to say that again because it's extremely important. Okay. Now, you put water into a different cup. Mayim, the impurity is able to cling to the waters. And so when you're pouring the water itself, there's impurity that has been touched by the water. Copper, raw copper specifically, acts as a force field that prevents the impurity from actually touching the water. Copper itself acts as a force field. This is based on its properties. And so when you're pouring the water onto your hands, you're pouring pure waters onto your hands. This is the reason why Hashem chose the material of copper when commanding to make the kior from copper. Tremendous. And so each and every one of us have that ability. Now, what is more concepts behind copper? We know that Kabbalah tells us that copper has mystical qualities associated with good health, with fertility, livelihood, and purity. The Zohar states that silver represents chesed. It represents kindness. Gold represents power. But copper represents rachamim. It represents mercy. It's just a huge thing. There's so many more sources that I can go into with you. And again, loads of this information can be found directly on netilah.com on the website so that you can learn more about the health benefits of copper, as well as the spiritual benefits of doing Netilat Yadayim with a copper cup. You can read all of those sources there. But I know that we're a little bit late on time here. Just to mention again, we're going to be doing right now, don't go anywhere. We're going to be doing the Tehillim read together through the Abraham's Legacy app. So each and every one of you can grab your phone. Again, like I said, if you don't have a smartphone, you're not, you could still be a part of this. You could grab a Tehillim book or just open up your heart and you're going to speak to Hashem. Right now, we're going to engage in 6 minutes of reading Tehillim in unison and Bezrat Hashem with the 106 people we have right now on Zoom, plus people that are joining us on Facebook. Bezrat Hashem will be able to finish a book of Tehillim in a 6-minute period. Don't go anywhere after that because that's when we're going to be doing the raffle for the Netillah cup, and I will be posting the coupon code that you can utilize to get your own 100% pure copper cup. Just to let you know, when you get the Netillah cup, inside is a small brochure that gives you the details of how to do Netillah properly, as well as the sources, some of that I spoke about today and others that I didn't have the opportunity to speak about today. Okay, here we go. We are going to do our Tehillim read. So please grab your phone. I'm going to share a quick video, and then we're going to do the read through the app. This video is going to explain to you what exactly you're going to be doing. I want to mention before we start the Tehillim read that this class, again, is in memories Leilui Nishmat Rosie Bat Esther, and that her neshama should have an aliyah from the classes and from the Tehillim that we're about to read in unison. On behalf of Abraham's Legacy, we are excited to lead you in a Tehillim reading, where each and every one of us, from wherever we are in the world, can easily join in and complete a book of Tehillim in unison within minutes through a very special app called Abraham's Legacy, Tehillim Together, in memory of Avraham ben Polin. To be part of the global Tehillim read happening now, download Abraham's Legacy on your mobile device from the Appstore, available for iOS and Android. You can also scan this QR code with your phone. To scan a QR code, simply open the camera on your phone and hold it up to this image. A link will appear on top, which you can click, and it will direct you to download the app. I'll give you all a moment to download the app. Sign in, and in a minute, we will all click on the Start Reading button on the main screen, and each of us will receive a different perek from the Sefer of Tehillim so that we can complete the book and add to the global count. In the top right corner, you can click the icon to switch your language if you like. You'll also be able to see in real time the amount of people reading and countries reading. Don't forget, you'll need to confirm that you've completed the chapter. Let's put a few minutes on the clock to read in unison so that we can unleash the power of our combined tefillah. Tizku l'mitzvot.
קרבות עוד באוויר, עם עייף חובש פצעיו, יושב סופר ימיו, צעקות בושה בכל העיר, דור רוצה תשובה עכשיו, זכאי ולא חייב. בגוף עייף מכישלונות, בלב שבור לחתיכות, נחכה לך שתקבל פנינו. לך קראנו בלילות, ועוד נצעק ברחובות, רחם עלינו אבא הושיענו, הושיענו. זמן עובר כולם ממהרים, דור מחיש את פעמיו, רוצה הכל עכשיו, שמש בשמיים אפורים, עם בארץ אבותיו, נלחם עוד על חייו. בגוף עייף מכישלונות, בלב שבור לחתיכות, מחכה לך שתקבל פנינו. בגוף עייף מכישלונות, בלב שבור לחתיכות, מחכה לך שתקבל פנינו. לך קראנו בלילות, ועוד נצעק ברחובות, רחם עלינו אבא הושיענו, הושיענו. הגיע הזמן להתעורר, לעזוב הכל, להתגבר, לשוב הביתה, לא לחפש מקום אחר. הגיע הזמן להשתנות, גם אם פספסנו תחנות, אפשר לרדת, יש רכבת, חזרה לשכונות. הכל אפשר רק אם נרצה, המחפש תמיד מוצא, גם אם הוא נמצא אי שם הרחק בקצה. דלתות שמיים לא ננעלו, כשהבן קורא הצילו, אבא שבשמיים מגיע אפילו שעשינו משהו רע, הוא מוחל וסולח, מושיט ידו לעזרה, ונותן ברחמיו את הכוח לתקן ולשוב אליו. הזמן להתחרט, אם כבר לברוח אז מאחת, אם כבר לקחת אז לקחת בשביל לתת, וזה הזמן להתקרב, לא לפחד מהכאב, ואם לתת אז כבר לתת מכל הלב. הכל אפשר רק אם נרצה, המחפש תמיד מוצא, גם אם הוא נמצא אי שם הרחק בקצה. דלתות שמיים לא ננעלו, כשהבן קורא הצילו, אבא שבשמיים מגיע אפילו שעשינו משהו רע, הוא מוחל וסולח, מושיט ידו לעזרה, ונותן ברחמיו את הכוח לתקן ולשוב אליו. אפילו שעשינו משהו רע, הוא מוחל וסולח, מושיט ידו לעזרה, ונותן ברחמיו את הכוח לתקן ולשוב אליו. הזמן להתעורר, לעזוב הכל, להתגבר, לשוב הביתה.
Wow. I have to tell you, then go ahead and you can finish reading the parak that you're on. I want you to know that we just got into the third book together in 6 minutes. 3 books. We're in our third book. 6 minutes. 6 countries joining us from around the world. You can come to this app at any time. This is not just when we have our events. You can come, you click, if you even click here on this button, one time every day, you're part of finishing a book every day, because on a daily basis, we have tens upon tens of books. On a weekly basis, we have hundreds of books being completed through this. And I hope that you guys are enjoying it. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to continue to build this out further. Like I said, it's in memory of my grandfather, Avraham ben Polin, this app. I want to thank you all for being part of this read. And this read, like we said, it was a Lilu Nishmat Rosie Bat Esther B'ezrat Hashem. Her neshama should have a tremendous aliyah from the class that we did, from the tefillot that we said. Somebody asked the question. They said, "How do you get a name dedicated on the chapter?" Because they saw a name dedicated on the chapter. You have the ability to do that directly in the app. On the side menu, it says "Sponsor a loved one," and you can sponsor a loved one whether it be for the week or for the month. And when you do, their name will appear on everybody. There are almost 13,000 people on the app, on everybody's app, on that specific parak. Like I said, we have hundreds of books being completed on a weekly basis through here. There are many more ways that you can utilize the app. I won't go into all that now. You'll have the ability to look it up more by going to abrahamslegacy.com. All right, we have our raffle. So I'm not forgetting about all of you. Some people are asking about the code. So the code, first of all, I'm gonna paste it over here. It'll be in the chat. I will, in addition to that, the code for you to get a Netillah cup in case you don't win and you're interested in getting 10% off. We have a 10% discount code that's going to go from today until January 17th that you'll have the opportunity to take advantage of this. So feel free, when you go on the site, you can put in the coupon code and it'll give you the 10% off. The code is going to be pasted here on the chat. In addition, I'll be sending out an email tomorrow. Another question somebody asked is, what if you came late? How do you get the recording? Not to worry, I got you covered. Right after we finish, I'll be editing this, putting it up onto our Abraham's Legacy YouTube channel, to the Netillah YouTube channel. And if that's not enough, I'm also going to send you an email. So you'll have all of that information there as well. All right. Are we ready? Oh, somebody also said to please keep in mind, I just want to mention the person's name here. For Hatzlachan, Panarsa, and court settlements, Ronen Shimon Ben Ziva. So I want to make sure that I say that as well. All right, we're going to do the raffle. You guys ready for the raffle? I'm ready for the raffle. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to spin our big wheel of names. And I'll be sending an email so that I could get your address and get you your Netillah cup. And the winner for today's raffle for the 100% pure copper Netillah cup is Sharon Rotman. Mazal Tov, Sharon. I will be sending you an email so that you can send me your details and I'll get you your 100% pure copper cup. A couple of announcements before we go. As I mentioned, the code is going to be there tomorrow. It's Tu Bishvat. It'll be posted onto the chat. If I'm sure somebody's going to be posting it over there on the chat. I'll also be sending it, like I mentioned, in the email. One last thing to ask all of you. I would love to ask each of you if you could take a moment, for those of you that have downloaded the Abraham's Legacy app, and on the side menu of the app, when you click on this little bar, it says review the app. It would be amazing if you can leave, if you haven't already, left a positive review and rating for the app. Bezrat Hashem, I hope to build this out even further. I'm very excited. The last thing I want to mention, there is a rabbi, his name is Rabbi Uri Greenspan. Maybe some of you have heard of him. He's absolutely incredible. And the reason I bring him up is because every Sunday, he sends out on WhatsApp groups a 10-minute audio shiur on Tehillim life lessons. And I'd love to share the link to his WhatsApp group here with you so that you have the ability, if you're interested in joining one of the WhatsApp groups, and that you'll get to your cell phone every Sunday. It's just every Sunday that it's sent out with the actual audio class so that you can listen and also increase your appreciation and your understanding and connection to Tehillim. So feel free to click on that link. I posted it in the chat. If you happen to be joining us via Facebook Live, not to worry, I'll put it in the email for you as well so that you have all the different ways of getting it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post it now. You can always email me. I answer all of my emails. You could send me an email to info@abrahamslegacy.com. I'll also put my WhatsApp number here. In case you have anything that you want to share with me, please, I love connecting with people. So feel free to shoot me over a message and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. If there are no other questions, I'm going to say, have a great day. Good night for now. And remember, tefillah, tehillim, it changes us. And when we change, our world changes. Let's each and every one of us take something into our hearts from the lessons that we've heard today. And take that inspiration, put it into action so that Bezrat Hashem, through our tefillot, through our mitzvot, through our chesed that we do, we're going to be able to usher in the Mashiach, not next year, this year. Now, we're going to be able to usher in the Mashiach. Guys, here we are a group of incredible women. Bizchut nashim tzidkaniot nigalu avotenu, bizchut nashim tzidkaniot nigalu, we're going to be redeemed. Bezrat Hashem, hoping to see you all at the third Beit HaMikdash very soon. Make sure you save me a seat. I want to be there hanging out with each and every one of you. Love you all. Take care now.